Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. So I want to talk about an idea that kind of expands to economics and to a few different areas. It's something that I think a lot of people don't realize that's a problem that they may face. And when you face this problem, it's too late to do something about it, or you're kind of in trouble. And this is the problem of taking it too safe and overshooting. And this spills into economic theory, into political economic theory. So we'll get into that for a minute. But first I want to kind of give you what this idea is. And there's a lot of ways to apply this, right? So oftentimes what we do is we may optimize what we're trying to do by playing things too safe, because we see a goal that's out there, and we think that we're not going to reach it, or that we'll eventually reach that goal, and we don't think beyond that goal. So, for example, I've made this mistake a lot of times in my life. I would say that when I was first trying to retire, right? Trying to retire young, trying to build up enough income to be able to have passive income, to be financially free, right? I projected that fairly far out, right? Yeah, I think a lot of us do. I wanted to retire as young as possible, but I didn't really think about it. I undershot it, right? And I also wanted to retire with maybe $2,000 or $3,000 a month of passive income, or maybe $4,000, right? Very much an undershooting type of thing. I hit that real easy, and I hit that early, and then I hit a higher mark, and I hit, and what I realized was that I set the goal too low. I set the bar too low, and then I overshot. I went beyond that. And what that caused me to do is have to reevaluate my life and my situation, and to reset those goals, because those goals weren't big enough. So what I'm saying, this is and I've done this in multiple areas of my life, right? From all kinds of areas where I've set goals and I've passed those goals, I've exceeded those goals, and I didn't plan it. I overshot because I played it too safe, right? Because a lot of times what ends up happening in life is, right, you never imagine that you're going to get to where you are. Even right now, at some point you might not have imagined that you would reach the level that you are now. And then when you reach it, if you've only planned that far, right? If you haven't planned to the end, if you haven't created a big enough goal, you get stuck. You stagnate. Maybe you get burned out at that point. Maybe you become complacent and you don't achieve your potential because you sold yourself too short. It's like when Bill Gates said that 256K was all that we needed of conventional memory, or I think that's it, right? And that was he sold it too short, right? It's selling too short. It's this idea, right? It's setting the bar too low. It's that whole quote, the greatest danger is not that you'll set the target too high and miss, but that you'll set it too low and hit, right? And so many of us do that. And so why am I telling you about this, right? Because I want to encourage you to set the bar higher, to set the standard higher, to make bigger goals. My favorite book on this is, I've recommended this multiple times, is a book by Grant Cardone called The 10X Rule, and he talks about this idea. I wish I would have read this book earlier on in my life, because it would have helped me to set bigger goals, right? Even the goals I'm setting now are probably too small. I'm probably going to overshoot them at some point. You want to have goals that are far enough out that you're not going to overshoot them, right? I mean, you can have sub goals, but you want to have an overarching dream, an overarching vision, and you want to imagine what it's going to be like. You want to think bigger, right? You want to think, there's another really good book called The Power of Thinking Big, right? Really good book. And I didn't quite get this stuff until it was too late, until I overshot a lot of things that I shouldn't have overshot, because when you overshoot it, you waste time, you waste energy, right? And you think you're there when you're not there. So let's talk about how this goes into economics, right? Because I like to bring this in. So this is one of those things too. Like, for those of you, especially a lot of the younger of you, that think that people aren't paying their fair share in taxes and all this stuff, and you want to see, you kind of like socialism, and you want to see income distribution equally and all of this stuff. Let me tell you something. That's fine. I know a lot of people that have that mindset, and then they make it in their careers and they make some money. They get up to they start making six figures or more, and then all of a sudden their mindset changes. All of a sudden, all of this stuff that they were saying before that they really believed, they don't believe anymore. I did this video on the ladder, on wealth and ladders and taxes, and this I'm going to segue into that same argument, because I think this is important to understand. It's like, think about this, right? If you have that mindset, if you have that economic mindset, okay, and it's harmful to you, but if you think that, oh well, let's tax the rich, let's tax the wealthy, it's shutting doors for your own future, because the reason why you're able to say that is because you don't think you'll ever get there, okay? But what happens when you get there? What happens if you're below middle class, if you're poverty class or whatever, low class? What happens if you're low class, right? If you're at that line and then you reach middle class, and now you didn't think you'd ever get there, but you got there, okay? And now you want to make it to the next level. Now you want to go to upper class. But wait a minute. Oh shoot, I didn't plan for this. I didn't think about what was going to happen when I got there. So I sort of screwed myself, right? Not that you have control over taxes, but a lot of people get there and they realize that they're like, oh wow, this political idea, this economic idea that I had of equal income distribution and tax the rich, that sucks, because now I'm there and now I'm experiencing it and I feel what that pain is, and it sucks. I would have much rather had that not happen. I would have much rather had everyone pay a flat tax or like an even distribution, so that I didn't have to like hit this hurdle. Suddenly I hit this roadblock because I overshot it. I played it too safe and I overshot it. And so there's a lot of ways to apply this, right, again, to life. I wanted to make that little tax thing for those of you that don't quite get this. It's like, don't aim so dang low, right? Don't try to aim high, right? Try to think about it. Like, optimize your future for when you hit success, right? Some of us, what we do is we borrow from the future, right? Because we don't think we're going to get there. And what we do is we optimize for the present, okay? And we make the present a little bit easier on ourselves. And we do this is when we avoid delayed gratification, right? We do this when we're lazy, when we're thinking about spending money now and enjoying ourselves now and not working hard hours, right? Because we don't imagine that we're going to be where we're going to get to. And so we're borrowing from that future, and when we get there, we're going to be robbed. It's the same thing, like, if I guarantee you, right? If you climb up, if you get to the higher tax bracket, you might think that, oh, hey, my doorbell's ringing. You might think that at the tax bracket that you're at now, that it's okay, that those people that are paying 39% taxes, if you're in the U.S., if I got to that point, I would have plenty of money. I'd be fine. But because you don't think you'll ever get to that point. But when you do, your views will change. You see what I'm saying? So, again, the reason why I'm pointing it that way, not that I'm gonna change enough minds that are gonna actually affect this, it's because I want you to think about that. It's the same mindset. It's the same mindset that makes people think that fallacy, that oh well, it doesn't matter. I'll pay the price in the future, right? This is the same thing. Here's a better example. When you buy a car, right, and you're like, well, whatever. You buy a new car and you get this car payment. And then what you're doing is you don't realize that you're going to be paying this car for 5 or 6 years in the future and paying these big car payments, and that's going to suck. It's going to cost you, right, for a long time. But you want it now. You want the gratification now, and you don't realize that you're going to get to that point in the future. So you're borrowing from that future. You're crippling yourself in the future because you're going to get there, and you're not optimizing. So what you should do is you should optimize for where you're going, right? And you shouldn't play it too safe. Be a little bit more ballsy. Be a little bit more go for it and gung ho and all in, so that you don't end up in this place where you get there. And then when you get there, you say, now what? Now you've taken the steps out of your ladder. You don't have anywhere to go from there, and that ends up costing you. So anyway, I don't know if I have completely beat that horse. There's so much to this concept. I'll probably talk about this some more because I've done this so many times, right? So many times I've gotten, and in so many ways, I never expected to reach the level of success that I do reach eventually, and so I have sort of borrowed from that future. I've optimized for reaching a certain level and not past that. And so in a lot of people, you see them do this and they get stuck because they've sabotaged themselves, because they've taken the resources from that they need, right, for when they reach their goal, and they've used that to accelerate the progression towards their goal. And now that they're there, they're stuck. Does that make sense, right? If you've played strategy games, you know that you can do this and screw yourself in the strategy game, right? You know this, but it takes a little bit more to kind of apply this to life, to see this in the bigger picture in life. But so many of us do this, right? I do it myself. I've done it. I'm guilty of it. So I'm trying to warn you about it. So anyway, if you like this video, you can click the subscribe button below and subscribe to the channel. I do about 2 to 3 videos a day, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.